kicked us to, there's nothing wrong with a nation enforcing an ethnic or religious monoculture. So certainly this has some overlap with the last question. I think you disagreed with this one.
Yeah. I disagree.
No, we agreed. We both agreed.
Well, it says agree?
Yeah, we both agreed.
So there's nothing wrong with a nation enforcing.
Yeah.
Maybe I just didn't understand it. So
I tried to write the question so that people like that you get a bunch of agrees and disagrees, so we don't get subject to agree bias in the.
I'm challenged because I'm an outlier. I'm a minority of a minority and a minority, and I know that I don't represent really any constituency because of my own very rare and beliefs. I'm a secular humanist libertarian who thinks that people should be largely Christians, and that the Islamic communities in the United States should probably be proselytized and converted so that they can become more compatible with American values. And I think that there's probably that the crowd, or as Nietzsche would call it, the herd, that there's probably a herd morality for most people that they need to adhere to, and that there's probably a different set of rules for the elites of society, and there always have been. And I think that when you try and enforce an ethnic or religious monoculture, you have to realize that the elites are always going to be more atheistic. They're not going to adhere to that. And I mean, would I enforce it by law? No. But would I actively encourage Christians to proselytize and to convert Islamists in this country? Yeah, I would, because I think that gets them. I want to move people closer to the libertarian ideal, and I do think libertarianism ultimately is more of an elitist.
Yeah, well, this is more theoretical than it is about America or even the nation that you might want to live in. I mean, if you endorse Israel, which I believe you have,
I do.
That's a country that wants a religious monoculture, right? That's
sort of. I mean, Muslims can vote and live, and Arab Muslims live in Israel and practice their religion in Israel. It's not like they're not exclusionary to the sense that you have to be Jewish to live in Israel.
I think they're certainly not neutral on the subject, and and you can, if you don't like that as an example, you can look at plenty of other nations. Like, we don't need to make it a question about Israel, although we do need to do.
We probably do need to talk about that. Yeah.
That's a whole show. I think with this one, it's about. This is just, does a nation have a right to exist that does this? And to me, it's like, if a nation is my neighbor and it's a religious or an ethnic monoculture and it's not aggressing towards me, why would I care? It trades with me fine or whatever. Why would I care that it's an ethnic or religious monoculture? To me, national legitimacy, to me, the nations generally do two or maybe three things that make them illegitimate or wrong to me. One is they don't let their people leave. If you're not letting people leave your nation, that feels very illegitimate to me. The other is nations don't just keep things inside of their borders, right? They say not only does my religion apply inside of my nation, my religious beliefs apply outside of my nation, and that becomes much more of a problem. And then the third thing is the nations don't let. This is maybe adjacent to the first one. They don't let sub-polities leave. So there's not only do they not let people leave, there's no ability for some portion of the nation to break off.
I don't like monoculture because I think it leads to inbreeding. And my problem with the monoculture concept is I think it's good that we have Catholics and Protestants in this country because I see them as the tension between the two of them makes both of them stronger. Plus, when they're fighting with each other, they have less time to kill the rest of us. So me being a secular humanist, I'm never going to be bound by the laws of society because I will never obey them. I will never obey the laws or the rules of society. I will always do what I want. But if you try and enforce a religious monoculture, then you take the liberty of someone like myself.
Wouldn't it be better that you have laws that you would follow?
It would.
I agree. I feel similar.
Yeah.
Follow.
No.
But I'd rather have laws that are good.
But here's the thing. Most people, I think, probably need it, right? Yeah. Look at the people who lined up to put on a mask. Look at the people who lined up to go do things during COVID-19. This is the herd mentality, right? So you have to create a system where those people can coexist and do so peacefully, and with the least amount of danger to the people like ourselves in society who need to be able to live in a society who are not a monoculture.
No, I agree completely. In fact, in terms of, this is a little bit off topic, but if liberty wants to be winning, one of the biggest things we need to be doing is doing a better job giving the average person a uniform that they can put on, and not trying to convince them to understand the nap or the philosophy
Right,
or all
agreed.
this stuff.
Yes, normies. Normie politics, yes.